The world woke up to a piece of news that sent shockwaves through the hearts of fans everywhere. David Phelps' wife had officially filed for divorce. It was the kind of headline no one ever expected to see, especially about a couple that had long been viewed as the picture of love, loyalty, and unwavering support. For years, David and his wife seemed inseparable, a bond so strong it inspired admiration, hope, and belief in lasting love. Their relationship had unfolded in the public eye with tenderness and grace. But now, the fairy tale had crumbled, and the reality was hard to digest. Almost instantly, the media caught hold of the story. Within hours, it dominated every entertainment headline, sparking widespread disbelief. Fans, stunned and heartbroken, flooded social media with questions, theories, and expressions of sorrow. How could a love so pure and strong suddenly dissolve? Some refused to believe it. Others suspected the cracks had been forming silently behind the scenes. But one truth was undeniable: this wasn't just tabloid chatter. This was real. Soon, multiple narratives began to surface. While some insiders hinted at personal differences that had grown over time, others pointed to the overwhelming demands of David's career. Being constantly on the road, in the studio, or under public scrutiny could have taken a toll. Still, there were no official statements from either David or his wife. The silence only deepened the mystery and made people even more curious about what had really happened behind closed doors. Close friends of the couple, when approached by reporters, either chose to stay silent or expressed quiet heartbreak. The couple's fans, desperate for answers, began digging through old social media posts, interviews, and public appearances, looking for any signs, any clue that might explain the heartbreak. What had gone wrong? Where had the love gone? David Phelps and his wife had once been the embodiment of a dream love story. From the very beginning, their connection seemed effortless. You could see the spark between them, a bond that was evident in every smile, every affectionate glance, every supportive word. In interviews, they always spoke highly of one another, lifting each other up in public and behind the scenes. She wasn't just his partner, she was his biggest supporter, his best friend, the person he leaned on through every career high and every personal storm. They had built a life together that many admired. A home full of love, laughter, and shared dreams. Their social media painted a picture of everyday magic, candid photos, heartfelt messages, and simple joys that made fans believe that true love still thrived in a world where relationships often fall apart under pressure. Friends and family often spoke of their bond as unbreakable, the kind of relationship that made people believe in soulmates. They finished each other's sentences, seemed to read each other's thoughts, and radiated warmth wherever they went. But sometimes, even the strongest foundations can begin to shake. Over time, subtle changes began to appear, barely noticeable at first. The effortless joy that once defined their relationship started to require effort. The laughter became quieter, the connection less visible. What was once easy became strained. Slowly but surely, love began to fade into routine, and affection was replaced by distance. It began with small things: missed dinners, half-hearted conversations, the growing absence of meaningful moments. David's career, always a central part of their life, began to demand even more of his time and energy. While his wife had always supported his dreams, even sacrificing her own comfort to stand by him, the loneliness began to take root. Late nights in the studio became more frequent. The texts came later. The calls became shorter. Slowly, the emotional distance widened. At public events, they still smiled. On social media, their love story continued, at least on the surface. But behind closed doors, the weight of unspoken disappointment hung heavily. Those closest to them started to notice the change, the way she laughed less, the way he seemed distracted, always somewhere else even when he was physically present. The breaking point didn't come with drama or scandal. It came in the quiet moments, the ones where love is supposed to feel safest. One evening, David came home late again after a long stretch of commitments. She waited, as she had so many times before, hoping for a real conversation. When she finally asked to talk, he barely looked up from his phone and said, "Can we do this later?" Her voice broke as she repeated, "David, when is later? Because it feels like it never comes." The exhaustion in her tone said it all. For too long, she had waited, supported, and hoped. But now, she was just tired. Tired of being an afterthought in her own marriage. He sighed, placing his phone down, frustrated. "What do you want me to say? I'm doing my best. Everything I do is for us." "But what about now?" she whispered. "What about me?" That night, something cracked between them that couldn't be repaired. Love, no matter how strong, can't survive on effort from just one side. David had been chasing success, thinking he was building a future for both of them. But in doing so, he had left her behind. In the days that followed, things between them grew colder. Conversations were sparse. The warmth of their home vanished, replaced by silence. David buried himself in work, thinking maybe if he just pushed harder, things would fix themselves. But deep down, he knew, it was too late. His wife, meanwhile, stopped pretending. She had tried everything. Given everything. But she couldn't do it anymore. She felt invisible. Unheard. Alone. And worst of all, unloved. Eventually, she made the decision she had been avoiding for months. One morning, with trembling hands, she called a divorce attorney. Saying it out loud made it real. When David received the papers, he was stunned. At first, he thought it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, a cry for attention. But when he saw the signature, the finality of it hit him hard. The woman he had promised forever to was leaving. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But out of a quiet, painful realization that love alone wasn't enough. As the media exploded with the news, fans were divided. Some blamed David, his devotion to his career, his absence. Others believed there was more to the story than what was being reported. The internet became a whirlwind of speculation. Old interviews were dissected. Social media posts were reread. Everyone searched for clues that could explain how the perfect couple had unraveled. But David and his wife didn't engage. No statements. No interviews. Just silence. And that silence spoke volumes. For David, the aftermath was filled with regret. The house felt empty. The music didn't sound the same. He would find himself reaching for his phone, ready to share a thought, only to remember she wasn't there anymore. Music, his lifelong escape, now reminded him of her. His wife, on the other hand, began the long, difficult journey of rediscovering herself. She traveled. Spent time with old friends. Picked up hobbies she had long abandoned. She wasn't trying to forget the past, only trying to make peace with it. Healing, she realized, wasn't about erasing memories. It was about learning to live with them. They no longer spoke, but there was no bitterness. Just the quiet understanding that sometimes, love stories don't end with a happily ever after. Sometimes, they simply end. David slowly returned to his music, this time with a heart heavy with lessons. He poured his emotions into every lyric, using the pain as a canvas for expression. His wife found her voice again, one not tied to someone else's dreams. She had chosen herself, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. And as the world moved on, chasing the next headline, David and his wife quietly stepped into new chapters, apart, but stronger. Their story would always be a part of them, a reminder that love, while beautiful, also requires presence, patience, and partnership. In the end, the world learned what David and his wife had come to understand, that love, no matter how deep, cannot thrive without effort, and that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let go.